Woo! All right, so this is it. This is going to be the final installment of the how to repair plastic bumper cover. I hope y'all have found it helpful. Those of you that are new and trying to learn how to do something like this, don't be scared to just dive in there and get after it. There's not really anything that you can do to mess it up that you can't fix, as long as you just kind of stay after it. I try to describe everything the best that I can. If you have any questions, obviously throw it down in the comments. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to get back after it. We are going to finish it in this video. Well, for a couple of reasons, because first of all, I got a whole lot of other content I need to put out, so we got to get this shit rolling. So with that said, let's roll. All right, well, as you saw, I got it all sanded over real good. Now that was with 80 grit paper. Now, when you sand these plastic bumpers with 80 grit, it's gonna kind of fuzz them up. It's gonna really raise that plastic up and kind of make a little bit of a mess of it. It's kind of a necessary evil for what I'm trying to do right here, because I try to cut as much of the damage out of the existing plastic as I can, and that way I can sand out a lot of small stuff, because even though I am going to wipe some filler on this, you don't want to wipe a lot. You never want heavy filler on a plastic bumper cover. And I know there's going to be those y'all that say, oh, you're not supposed to put, filler in a bumper cover. You're supposed to just put the stuff that's made for a bumper cover on it. I really don't care what you think, because I've been doing this for 30 years, and I know for a fact that you can put a very small amount of putty in a bumper. Now, you can't be loaded up with Bondo and all that, but if you use it in a small amount, then yes, you can get away with it. It won't be an issue. But before that, like I said, this thing's kind of furred up. Now we're going to put a heavy primer on this thing, and I could probably, the stuff I'm going to use, I could probably go right over this 80 grit, and it would probably still cover that up. It's pretty thick stuff. Now, what I am going to do though, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab some 180, and I'm going to run over it and kind of smooth it down a little bit. And then we'll wipe it with some putty. Now, when I wipe it, it's gonna look like I put a lot on there. Just the way I work, I believe in wiping a dent 2 times. You wipe it 1 time, you wipe it heavy, so you get everything filled up good. Then you're gonna sand 95% of that off. Then you come back the second time and you maybe do just a really light skim coat, just to make sure you fill all the little pinholes and things like that might be left in it. And there again, you're still going to sand 95% of that off. So what you end up with is just a real thin skim coat over it, just filling up some of your little low spots. So now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to sand this thing with some 180, like I said, kind of knock down some of the fuzzed up plastic on a little bit here. And then we'll go ahead and I'll wipe this thing with some putty. Now, you'll also, when I wipe it, you'll notice I try to be really smooth with my wipes. You want to try to wipe it as slick as you possibly can and not have a bunch of just streaks in it and lumps and stuff, because it just makes it harder to sand out. It just takes more time. The smoother you wipe it, the smoother surface you start with, the easier it's going to be to get it smooth when you're done with it. So hopefully you'll be able to see that as I wipe it and kind of see what I'm working with. It's cool in here tonight. I'll try not to put too much hardener in it. That way I can kind of work with it, because it is a really large area. So I guess I'm going to go get some 180. We'll get to sanding this dude. Alrighty, so finally we get to the point of putting a little putty on this joker. I'm going to try to do this in a couple of smaller wipes because it's spread out over such a large area. I don't want to waste a lot of material. You'll notice I did not put a whole lot of hardener in this because I want to give myself a little bit of time to work it. I don't even know if you can see this little corner that I'm at right here. There's a little gouge in it right here. Throw a little something in him right quick. And then we'll move to the more important area in the center. And you'll notice that my little spreader in this particular case is cut down because it's a lot easier to work You know, if you have it about the right size. This is the only large area, is this on each end. So I'm just going to kind of slather this on here. Then put a little pressure on it. You want to definitely put a little pressure on it. On the spreader when you wipe it, it will help with pinholes a little bit. Press some of them guys out of there. Like I said, you see I'm not putting a whole lot on there. I put a little dab on there, spread it out. Like I said, I'm gonna sand the majority of this off, so I can get my shape all the way I want here. Try to keep my wipes nice and smooth. This will also help kind of fill up some of those fuzzy marks that you get when you sand it with that 80 like I was talking about. Yeah, does not want to wipe that little spot. There it goes. There we go. Like I said, I'd rather wipe it a little heavy. Hopefully not have to come back and wipe it a second time. I want to get all my filling done in the first wipe if at all possible. Just better for not wasting materials or time. Now I'll keep pulling this way, so I have to turn around and kind of pull it back the other way a little bit so I don't pull all my filler off the back side back here. I know it might look like a lot. It's really not that much, especially not if you spread it thin. Y'all saw how much I had on this board. It was not that much, and we've covered almost our whole area we were trying to get to here. Like right here, there's not necessarily damage down there, but where that putty is kind of smearing over that side right there, I'd rather it be nice and smooth because it's easier for me to sand it off the more uniform it is. Even like right down in here, instead of having a little gap right there, I would rather have it be a smooth wipe all the way into that edge right there, because then I can just work it all down at the same time. So you try to keep it as smooth as possible. Makes it so much easier to sand. Luckily I didn't put too much hardener in it, so we got even farther along than I thought we would. And it's not even starting to get too hard on me just yet, so what I'll do is I'll go on and kind of push it a little farther, because I know I'm going to come back with some more here in just a second, so I'll spread this kind of extra thin. Now you see why cutting the spreader a little, how much that kind of helps out there. Well, I'm not trying to work with a gigantic spreader and get in these little small areas. All right, so I'm gonna ease off for a minute here and let this stuff kind of kind of firm up, and I'll come back. I'll finish wiping this last bit of it, just like what you just saw me do. So then when we come back, it'll all be wiped and hard and ready to sand. We'll be ready to start sanding on this joker. All right, so got this thing wiped nice and smooth. This had about 2 weeks, so I'd say it's good and firm, since I normally only takes about 15 minutes. Whatever, I got busy doing other things. Life gets in the way sometimes. I'm sure y'all get it. So we gotta get started blocking this. Now, my personal rule of thumb is you always use the biggest block that you can use to block an area with. That way, it gives you just better chance of flattening it all out and getting it smooth. Now, my block of choice for something like this, I love these Durablocks. I've been using them since they first came out. You know, they got lots of different shapes and thicknesses. They're nice. You get like just a little bit of flexibility to them. So if you need to kind of work around a contoured edge, very handy for all that. Gonna be using that on here. So the goal right now is we're gonna go over this with 80 and 80 grit paper and knock it all down, try to get it all smoothed out and roughed in. Once I get it roughed in where I want, then we'll come back over with 180 and kind of that'll give us kind of an idea of where we're at as far as finish wise to see. I would say we'll probably have to wipe it a second time. Generally, my rule of thumb, I try to wipe things 2 times. One time to kind of be your heavy fill, and then the second time to come back and take care, just smooth out any small imperfections and fill pinholes and things like that. So, all that being said, we're gonna throw on some 80 grit paper and we'll get to blocking. Hope this thing comes out pretty quick. Alrighty, so obviously I didn't sand that spot yet, but I want to show you this. So this is what I mean by roughing it in with 80 grit. So you can see that when I was sanding that, I kept my finger spread across the block like that. That way I could keep even pressure across the block the entire time that I was sanding. And you notice that I sanded diagonally like that, and then back like this. Now that's called cross hatching. You don't sand like this, because if so, at the top and the bottom of your block, you'll just leave a big line right there and it'll just dig out your body work. You come back and forth across it like this, it'll leave it nice and flat. And now you can see the areas where the putty is light or where it's sanded through. That's because I'm getting it down to where it's just starting to touch that plastic and really kind of knocked it down. I told you we're going to sand the majority of this stuff off, and you see it feathers out into the plastic real nice. Now there's a lot of little areas like this. I have to come back, kind of sand that little crap out. That's no big deal. Like here and here. Now this is a good thing, because you don't want to leave a whole lot of putty on there. You want it to be just a really thin skim coat. Now there's 2 little spots right there. I don't know how well you can see it, and right here you can see where the putty didn't really get sanded. It's still kind of low right there in that one spot. So that's going to take a little bit more putty. So right now we're just roughed in with 80. So our next step is going to be to come back with the same block and 180 grit sandpaper. And we'll come back and we'll take it down even further. We'll take a little more off. Now, my goal with this is actually going to be to take it down just a little bit past and make it so that the areas of plastic that you see, they'll almost be like high spots. Now I'll do that deliberately, because I want to take it down till I get everything blocked out of it and it's all flat and we're down to the thinnest coat possible. Because then we're going to come back with our next coat and we're going to make it just a really, really, really thin skim coat over the whole thing. Just to kind of fill those little final small imperfections and fill little pinholes and things like that. So now I'm going to jump on this dude with a little 180 and we'll saw this off right quick. So here we are. Everything's all knocked down with 180. Now it's kind of shadowy, I know, it's taking the camera a minute. Like you see stuff like this right here, those are called pinholes. Now that is either air bubbles that got caught inside the putty, or they're little air pockets that were opened up in the plastic whenever we sanded over it the first time, and they're just kind of all through. Now right here we got a little baby spot that's a little bit low, 2 little baby spots right there. Other than that, everything really finished out great. I mean, like really, really, really nice. I'm super happy with how that all worked out. So now we just got to get in here and throw us a thin coat of putty over it and knock that off. And then, shoot, this dude will be ready for primer. So let's get in here with some putty. Alrighty, so got my putty here. We just got to mix it up. I like to stir my putty. A lot of guys like to fold. I don't know. Some guys think that when you fold it, it puts more air in the putty. I don't know. I've just always stirred it. It's how I've always done it. Now you see, I don't have a whole lot of putty here because I don't intend to put just a whole lot on here. And I've mixed it up pretty slow, and it is pretty cold in here too. So hopefully that'll slow it down a little bit too, because more than anything right now, I want to just get it wiped as smooth as possible, because I'm not really looking for a lot of fill right here. I'm done fixing, dents and things like that. This is just kind of for like a little final finish right here. So hopefully it will go slow enough here that we can do what we want to do. Ooh, got a lot of hardener right there on the back side of that. There we go. All right, here we go. So like when I wipe this, I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on the spreader to try to push any air out of this putty as I wipe it on. That way, hopefully, I can fill all these little pinholes. And I'll try to keep it as smooth as I can, because the smoother it is, the easier it is to sand. Like I said before. Tough to kind of get it worked in right here along this little edge, because you want to get putty worked in all the way to the edge, but you don't want a massive amount of buildup right at the edge, because then it makes it tougher to sand. So what you do is you kind of glob it up there, and you come back and you use the pressure that you use on your spreader to push it out on the sides there, to spread it out where you need it to be. It's kind of a difficult spot to wipe, really, especially being as long as it is, but we just do the best we can and clean up all the other little bull after the fact. Try to keep it as uniform and smooth, that way it's just that much easier to block across it. So like once I get it all white like that, once I get my putty all the way across, I like to come across with one wipe over the whole area to smooth it all down and kind of work it all in together. This also makes it much, much easier to block. So now it's probably a little heavier on this side, on that side over there. So I'm going to kind of pull it to this side a certain amount. Now I got to get some on this edge right here. That way we can work our line in. Thankfully this stuff's not kicking too quick. I'll probably still have to mix up some more for the bottom side of it, but at least if I can get one area at a time all the way worked in, makes it a lot easier. Maybe I will get this all white. Because this right across here does not need much. Just a little something to feather it all together, really. I do believe it is going to be enough. And even after I sand this, there probably will still be some pinholes in it. But a lot of that, like I said, is due to when you open that plastic up, it just leaves some little holes sometimes, and there just ain't really anything you can do about it. Now we'll pull it over, see if we can get the whole thing in one shot. Weaka. Always wipe it a little bigger than the area that you need to cover. That way it gives you a nice little area there that you can feather your work into. Now, normally this would have already gotten hard by now, but like I said, I mixed her up real slow so I'd have a little time to play with it here, because like I said, I knew this was kind of a tough area, but it's working out really good. It gives me that little bit more time to kind of work it here. Clean up some of the little areas like this where I got a little excess. Alright, so we're looking good there. Pretty good over here. Alright, now I'm going to need to stop messing with her. I'm going to mess it up. As soon as I say that, I'm going to go ahead and I think I got everything pretty good. Yep. So come back. Yeah. Come back. Be time to do a little bit of final blocking on this guy, and then let me look across. Yeah, I believe it's going to be nice. We come back and be ready to do our final blocking and get this dude ready for some primer. All right, well, we're back after this thing. Now, it's been a couple of days since I wiped this on there, and while that's not ideal because this stuff gets harder the longer that it sits and harder to sand, I mean, it is what it is. I got a lot of stuff going on. But this should be our final coat of putty on this, and we should be ready for primer after this. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go over with 80 grit and block it, and we'll get it kind of knocked down and roughed in. I don't get real aggressive with the 80 because this will be my final coat. I want to finish it out as slick as I can. So we'll go over with 80 grit and kind of knock it down, get our initial shape, and then come back with 180 and finish this thing all out. So let's get to blocking. Oh, also, one of the things about, like I was telling you about the DuraBlocks, it's really good, and especially good on a bumper like this, is that it is flexible. Now, it's important that you can hold it right here, but you're only going to really sand right here. It may hit out here a little bit, but it's not really going to sand there. So it's very important to make sure that you keep your pressure even across the entire block. That way, that's imperative to make sure that you get your mud all straightened out and flat the way you want it, so it'll look nice. Oftentimes I leave things like that out when I'm talking about the blocks that I use with the sandpaper or how I'm sanding, because while it's automatic for me because I have been doing this for so long, to somebody like you, if this is not something you do every day, if it's something you're just learning and working on, it is something that you need to know, that you need to think about. So obviously, like I said, you make sure you keep your pressure even across your block at all times. And even like right here, it wants to catch my sandpaper from time to time. And I've even got a wider one right here that I will kind of use when I finish out this wider area. This skinny block is great for this and this, and it's not bad for this, but I will probably hit it a couple of strokes right there toward the end just to make sure that this is all the way that I want it good. So let's get to blocking. All right, so I just ran it over into the wood shop and blew it off real good. So, as you can see, we're all done. Now you can see we sanded through to our plastic, so we just got just a really thin skim coat on. Everything blocked out, really nice, finished out nice. I think it'll prime up and man, it should look like a brand new bumper. And the amount of work that we put into this stupid thing, it better. But it will. I mean, this is what I do, you know. So I got one little spot over here. I got to get Ben to strip and finish sanding, and then this one will be ready for primer. So we'll be moving on to the next spot. I'll get him to strip that little spot off camera because y'all seen what that looks like. So we'll get that stripped off, and then we'll get ready to prime this guy and kind of see what it looks like all wet with the first wet coat of primer anyway. So see you real soon. Well, finally, I'm getting back around to this thing. It's been a while since that last video, but all the body work is done, and I'm finally going to get around to priming this joker. Everything's all sanded. I had Ben go around and hit the couple little areas that weren't sanded good. So we are ready to go. I'm just going to do it right here in the wash bay. I got a couple fans set up that will probably not keep the smell of primer out of the house, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. It's actually warm enough, so basically I'm going to crack that garage door right there, and I'm going to set these fans up where it'll blow the stuff out of here, and we're going to shoot some primer on this bad boy. Alright, so I got him all cleaned off. Looks like he didn't finish sanding that. So I guess I'm going to go grab a piece of sandpaper and sand this little spot right here right quick. Joy. Okay, so I'm back, having sanded this crap that he was supposed to have already had done. So, anyway, back to it. So, step one here is we use PPG products where I work, so that's what I'm going to be using on this because that's what I'm most familiar with. This joker is going to need a lot of primer because of the way we sanded it. We sanded out a lot of bad spots and things like that. So, step one. This is their pre-clean called DX330. Essentially, you spray the stuff on. It's good like wax and grease remover. You just spray it on, you come back, you wipe it off, and it kind of gets it all good and clean. I'll not be using a tack rag on this because it's primer. I really don't care if it gets trash in it because honestly, I'm going to prime it this time really heavy, and then we'll let it sit for honestly probably at minimum a week or two because I want this stuff to really have time to get good and dry and go ahead and shrink up any little bit that it's going to shrink. That way when we sand it, if any of these, if any of the fuzz or any of this crap that's on this this bumper where we stripped it with 80 grit and 180, if any of that stuff stands up, or when it stands up, because it's going to, when we sand it, we can go in and sand it out smooth because basically we're going to come back and sand this primer with probably some 180 and sand it all and just kind of knock it all down smooth. And it's basically, we're going to use it to kind of fill any of the small imperfections that are left in this thing and get all of that stuff out of it. And then we will, we'll sand over with 320, get it all sanded smooth so that, then we can just throw a couple of quick, like 2 coats over it after that, just to kind of give us a good finish primer to prep for paint. So this is mainly just kind of not really a repair coat because we're not necessarily doing repairs, but we've done such heavy repairs on this thing that we got to make sure that it's all fixed good, make sure we didn't miss anything, because when you have one that was as messed up as this, it's easy to miss some little things. And so we'll go ahead and we'll get it all sanded and we'll get it all primed and sanded, make sure we didn't miss anything. Then we'll come back and we'll reprime it with a nice finish coat. Just like I said, we'll hit it with a couple good normal coats of primer after that, and then we'll sand that off real good with some probably some 320 and maybe run over with some 600, and then it should be ready to paint at that point in time. So I'm going to finish wiping over with this and then blow her off one more time, and we'll get over here, we'll mix up some primer, and we'll see what primer we're using. All right, so what we have here is your basic Sprint 2K primer. It's a 2-part primer. It's made by PPG. Like I said, we use PPG at work, so this is the stuff that I have. We have a relationship with the company that sells PPG, so that's who I call. We don't use mixing cups at work anymore, not in the traditional sense. Everything's done on a computer, that way they can track every ounce of material. So I ran over to Home Depot and I got me some of these mixing cups. These will work just fine. They've got different mix ratios on the side of them right here. This stuff right here mixes 4-to-1. So you can do that, you know, several different ways. You can just use the measurement on the side right here. And, you know, like if you use 50 milliliters, you would go up to 200 milliliters, and then that would be 50 milliliters of hardener that you would put with it to mix that right. Or you can find the corresponding measurement right on the side of the cup right here, 4-to-1, and you can mix it up like that. That's probably what I'm going to do because it's easier. I'm not going to use that cup because I used it the other day for some other stuff. But right here, well, that's 4-to-1-to-1. So here we go, 4-to-1 right there. So I'm going to show you an old painter's trick that I learned. I went ahead, I took this to work today, took it back to work because I've had it for like 3 months. And we put it in a shaker. That way it would all be mixed up good. All right. So to pour a brand new gallon without spilling it everywhere, 2 things that I recommend doing. First thing, you take a screwdriver, you're gonna take a corner of it, stick it down in the little ridge where the cap normally sits. You're gonna pop it a time or 2, put a little hole right in the base of that ridge, okay? Now the reason why we're gonna do that is because, as everybody knows, when you pour out of a gallon, when you tip it back, it's still got all this paint that fills up that little edge all the way around. That will allow it to drain back and drip back into the can, which is nice because then you make less of a mess with it. So then we're gonna take 1.5-inch tape, 2-inch tape, whatever you've got handy, because obviously if you're doing this, you're gonna have some kind of tape handy somewhere. So you're gonna kind of roughly center your spot up where your hole is right there, wrap it around your can just like this, seal it up nice to your lid. So we're gonna do this and we're gonna make 2 or 3 runs here, kind of a 50-50 overlap on each little section here. Just try to let it lay as flat as possible and make sure that it sticks to itself really, really well. So now, for those of you that have not figured out what we're doing right now, we have now created ourselves a pouring spout, so that now we've created a pouring spout and we've got a little drain in the top of our can, so that after we pour it, first of all, we can control where our liquid goes. It doesn't just splot out everywhere. And then secondly, we got a little drain there. That way, if I tip it back slowly, it'll just drain and run right back down to the can. We'll have a big mess running down the can all over the workbench and everywhere else. So a trick I learned a long time ago from another old painter. So, how much primer am I going to use? We're going to need a lot because I'm going to put a lot of primer on this bad boy. So I'm going to go ahead. So basically the way this works is, like if you just want to pour a 1 shot right here, you pour it to 1, then your 1 right next to it, that would be your next level where you pour your hardener up to. So I'm probably going to go ahead and go all the way up to 3 right here. That means my hardener will go to 3 right there. That's not going to be enough. That's probably going to be enough for maybe 1 coat, really. I'm going to put a lot of primer on this thing. So I'm not going to show you how I mix it every time, but this is how you do it. So let's start right here. We're going to pour it up to 3. So I'm going to pick this here can up. Now notice, I'm going to tilt this in, and I'm going to make my pouring spout a little bit smaller. So now there again, see, I can kind of control how much I'm pouring. And bang, there's 3. Tilt it back slowly. Ooh, that stuff's good and thick too. That'll be nice, it'll fill up real nice. Tilt it back slow, let the primer run back down into the can. Now you can hold this like this, kind of on an angle right there where your little hole is until it all runs back. Or you can just tip it back and it's all gonna run there anyway. So like what I like to do is have like a pair of pliers or something handy, like this right here. Put them directly across from where that little hole is right there. Channel locks are good because you can kind of spread them out a little bit. It gives it a good steady base. So it keeps all that primer that's running back down in there, it keeps it kind of right over that hole. Look, only little drip we got is that little guy right there. I can take this right here, choop, choop, wipe it right off. We are good to go. So now we get our hardener. So right here, we're just a shade above 3. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pour this. Boom, just a shade above 3. So now we are ready to spray. So I'm gonna go ahead and stir this up, but I'm not gonna put it in my gun just yet because I don't have a gun holder here at the house. I just gotta have to sit it down on the floor or something like that. So you wanna make sure you stir this up really good, especially when you got a real heavy 2K primer like this, because it's gonna take a little while to really kind of mix in there good, get your hardener mixed up good. We've gotta go over now, you got this stuff right here. This is PPG's kind of official adhesion promoter. Now, anytime you're doing work on plastic, bare raw plastic, you're going to want to put some type of adhesion promoter over top of it, because while the primer does have some adhesion promoters built into it, it still needs a little help, and this is what PPG recommends, like we use at the shop. That way you have to use that if you want the paint job to be warranted, which obviously we offer a warranty, so we got to use that type of stuff. So we're going to go over here, we're going to put just a quick medium wet coat of this stuff right here on there, and then we'll come back, we'll pour our paint into our gun, or not our paint, our primer into our gun, then we'll be ready to go over and hose this dude. I'm going to hunt down my RZ mask, I guess, that's what I'll use. Not a great mask, but I'm spraying right, the fans are going to be blowing right by me, so I don't think I'll be breathing a whole lot. Look at me, I'm stirring and shaking. A little bit more difficult than I thought it would be. All right, so this makes good. Look at that, good consistency. So I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna throw a quick medium wet coat of this stuff on there. Then we'll come back and pour it into our gun. All right, let's run over here and do this. Nope, I don't want to put that right there because I do not want to get hardener in my can. Let's go. Yes, I'm fully aware that this is not approved by anybody for this, but it's going to work for what we're doing today. Got my basic Harbor Freight paint gun right here. It should get the job done. Alright, so I gave it a good 10-minute splash time between coats, so we're going to hammer this thing again, and then we'll probably go ahead and just kind of phase out, and then we'll come back when it's all primed and show you what it looks like. Well, so here's the thing. I got it all primed and it looked fantastic, and I really had intended on taking a picture and showing it to you once it was all dry and everything. I had such great intentions. Well, I never got around to taking a picture of it, and then before I know it, my son decided to sell the car, and he sold it before I could even get any more pictures of it. We never even got to finish the damn bumper cover, crazy enough, but I can catch you up. So from that point, once it's all primed, you're going to go over, you're going to sand the entire bumper really good with 180 grit sandpaper. Make sure all your scratches, little small imperfections and things are out of it. Reprime it again. Basically wash, rinse, repeat for what we just did to get it all primed up. Once you get it primed again, now you're not going to prime it heavy that time, just going to put maybe, 2 quick coats on it, enough to kind of fill your 180 scratches. Let that sit up for, couple days, week, whatever. Make sure let everything shrink up real good. And you're going to come back and you're going to sand it with like a 320 or 400 grit paper. Maybe some people like to finish it off in 600. If you want, you can do that. And this should be ready to paint. But I hope you learned something from the repair processes that we use. There's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. This is the things that I did in this video are things that I do every day in a body shop. And these are processes that, you know, pretty much every career body man does to repair things. And I was glad to be able to share some of that with y'all. Hope y'all found it helpful. If you liked the video, you know, hope you liked it enough to throw me a, you know, click that button, subscribe to my channel. I do lots of different repair content, but we build lots of cool stuff. Cars, we got motorbike builds coming up. Got my dually that I'm building. We're gonna build a donk here real soon. I got tons of stuff. I got a 54 Chevy I gotta finish. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.